early laps. Number 49, the back marker there with Alex Olsen on board. Fully aware that there's a bit of a freight train coming. Look at Rutter, Rutter's, oh dear me, how close do you want it? Leaning on James Hillier, but he's got to get past Todd, that's what he needs to do. And I'm not sure what that will do with the reckoning, because the Thomas Todd bike was 4th in race 1. In my calculation, depending on the times, that could be the deciding factor. Alex Olsen is ahead of them, the tail ender, the number 49 bike. Yeah. These 3 cars then, the Mitchell car, the Griffiths car, and now Nuttall, the 14 car, closing in on the race leader. But if he can maintain that half-second advantage that he's got, we are 5 seconds done, 5 minutes done, 20 minutes remaining.
And Haddon in the other Scarab is up there pitching. He's down in about 6th place, but going nicely, going to be battling with Marino, I think.
We are certainly not going to see any heroics with a best time of 1:54.225. Let me just throw that in the ballpark against a pole time of 1:27. So they are about 22 seconds a lap slower in these conditions, understandably so.
Yep, coming towards
Here comes Mitchell.
The end of the 3rd lap. Ben Mitchell has taken the lead from Tony Wood in the Tech Mech.
Through he goes, oh dear,
Tony goes wide, but it's the best place on Goodwood to go wide because there's plenty of room at Wood, but it's allowed Mars to get much closer in the Lotus 16.
Ben Mitchell went underneath, Tony Wood moved across to avoid wheel-to-wheel contact. That's the last thing you want in these open-wheel racing cars. And now we've got Miles Griffiths moving alongside the Tech Mech. So the conditions are now equalising. The initial leader has now been shuffled back to 3rd place, almost into the hands of William Nuttall, the number 14 car. Marino Franchitti still there, ahead of the number 30 car. Alongside him as they go, and Fraser Nash gets the drop, and they spin up, and away he goes.
And look at Howlett coming through already. Battling for the lead is Nick Swift, so it's Fraser Nash, and Nick has taken the lead into Madgwick.
Keep it upright, Nick, keep it upright going into Madgwick. That was a fantastically bold move. Owlett flying round with a very brave and a very accomplished driver at the wheel. Nick Swift then in Owlett, what a flying start he had, and he came all the way through. Goodness me, that is amazing. Enders ahead of them. Owlett still with Nick Swift in control. That's the 2nd place car. Oh, sideways, how sideways do you want it?
Lovely, kept it off the grass.
Controlled drift, a magnificent piece of driving.
And a lovely slide from Nick, allowed Eddie Williams to get almost alongside.
But now the Union flag rises and drops, and away we go. Great start from the middle of the front row grid. Electrifying getaway from the red and gold car of Darren Turner. Pole sitter Bill Shepherd coming in behind him, and Jenson Button just being cautious. He wants to tuck into the inside in Madgwick, and somebody's going around already. And Jenson Button has been cautious. Has he survived the first corner? Yes, he's down in about 9th or 10th. Survival is going to be critical. It is very slippery out there.
I think we're back on board with the car just there that spun. It looked like it was an E-type, but it looked like miraculously everybody seemed to miss him. We will see in a moment if any cars have come a cropper at the first corner, but it looks like everyone's made it through even with that spin.
Yeah, one of the cars that was fastest off the line, just in the front of your screen there, the little TVR Griffith 400, like a rocket off the line. He's got ahead. He was about the 6th row, and he's got ahead of Jenson Button's car that was starting the outside the front row. Caution, though, isn't a bad thing on the opening lap. Now they're on the part of the circuit, Martin, where Jenson described it as this part into the end of the lap is now slippery.
To finish first you have to finish, and first you have to survive the first lap. It is the Shepherd and Dumas car that leads from, it's the Turner and Bryan car that leads from the Shepherd and Dumas car that was on pole position. In 3rd place from the 2nd row of the grid, I think that's Gregor Fiskin and Sam Hancock's car, the lightweight.
Yes, we're looking to the cars coming through the final corner now into the chicane. We should get a updated order as they cross the line for the first time, but it is a fantastic start there from Darren Turner in the...
Out in the background,
Cobra.
sorry, is the red and white Cobra, the Wilmot livery car. That's kind of a 68, that's the Fiskin Hancock car. Not sure who started most of these cars. Jenson Button just trying to keep his nose clean. He was behind the lightweight E-type of Richard Mines and former World Touring Car champion Rob Huff. He's got past them in a straight line. Now chasing the 88 Brundle and Kent.
Fantastic opening stint from Bill Shepherd. Yep. Bill is the owner in this car, let's remember. He hands over to one Mr. Romain Dumas Le Mans winner. So it's to stay 4 seconds off the lead with the owner driver in the car, that's a fantastic first stint. It puts him in a great position for later in the race, Bruce.
Well, he knows his car forwards, backwards and sideways, but even so, he's got the confidence, he's got the experience. But what's happening? The clouds are starting to break up, the sky is brightening, the track is drying. Expect the Cobras to start coming forward. So for Alex Brundle in the Cut 7 Jaguar holding third place, this could become harder and harder. What's making it harder still, he's got Jenson Button, still the slight dings in the back of that blue AC Cobra. But now, riding out of the exit of the second part of match, he's got so much more grunt. He's being shown one line, it's the outside line. It's got a Porsche 904 Carrera in the way. And look, a little bit of caution from Alex Brundle. That could cost him. Right, the momentum of the AC Cobra, number 21, around the outside. Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes St Mary's.
I think it would be tough around the outside of an E-type in a Cobra around St Mary's. He's wisely backed out of that one. But what fantastic onboard footage this is. And I should just point out, he did the fastest lap of the race again last time round, a 1:28.7, 5/10 of a second quicker than the leader. So if Jenson can clear Alex Brundle, who himself did the fastest lap of the race of that car last time round, let's see how far he can go.
Not only is Jenson a second quicker than anybody else on track at the moment, his best lap is very nearly a second quicker than anybody has managed at all so far, but the pace will come up. There's still plenty of meat on the tyres. He goes the long way around Alex Brundle, and that again, this is how a man like this becomes a world champion. He knows where the opportunities are, and he just is not afraid to take them with both hands.
Think back to Jenson's greatest wins in Formula Ones. We're not talking about the ones where he had with Brawn. That was a fantastic season in 2009, when the track had changeable weather conditions. Think Montreal, think Hungaroring, and it was brilliant.
We saw Alex Buncombe in the pit lane, his teammate, his long-term friend. As boys, they went together with their dads when their dads were racing. They've grown up together around race circuits, and they like to do everything they can to race together. So Alex will take up a midway through. Austin battle, A35 versus A40, and now here again. Oh, the Thunderbird has gone by Mike Jordan. And Jordan must finish 7 seconds in front at the end of the race, and that means he's got to be in front as long as he can. He's tagged the back of the car. He has to brake less early, and so when Bill Shepherd gets the car stopped, still Mike Jordan is trying to reel in that Austin, and here comes the Alpha. Dickie Meaden goes by him. Jordan in trouble now, not down to third, not down to fourth. He's going to be passed as well by the Butterfield Jag 48 going the long way around the outside, Bruce. He just hangs on there, but he could ill afford to lose those 2 places.
It was compromised momentum when the big Thunderbird just blocked him going into the chicane and grabbing that moment, the Alfa Romeo of Richard Meaden. And for Jordan, this is the nightmare. Not just behind the car he has to beat by 7 seconds, but a few cars between them. He's got to gather himself back up. Just under 20 minutes remaining in the race.
That action up on the Levant straight, because Grant had a second and more in hand, and now look at him coming back at Bill Shepherd.
Right, what do you do if you're in the Jaguar? You've got to go for the inside. Is there going to be gap up the inside? Not enough. Richard Meaden could be picking up the pieces, and the Alfa Romeo in third place. But when the T-Bird gets the second part of Lavin, it's going to go wide, and Grant Williams knew what was coming. He's going up the inside, and then what happens next? Which car has more grunt? I'll give you one easy clue. It's number 73.
And Grant Williams could not get across quite enough to shut the door on the outside there. He wasn't going to force Shepherd onto the grass, because that's not the way racing is done here. But look at Dickie Meaden. He senses a chance to finish second overall. Can he smell blood in the water in the little Alpha? Not sure what the rev limit of the Alpha is, but he may possibly just be ignoring that in the last couple of laps. If there's a chance to get in front, and suddenly there's 3 of them together, and Bill Shepherd on the anchors almost before he's halfway out of Woodcote to try and get the car stopped so it doesn't remove the chicane from the circuit.
This is the start of the last lap, and agonisingly for Grant Williams. He was right on the rear bumper of the Thunderbird when they came out of the chicane, but the power of that 7-litre engine, phenomenal on the run to Madgwick.
But the T-Bird does not stop. Nobody in the entire weekend has braked that early for the chicane. Bill Shepherd knows. We saw him pumping the pedal to try and get it stopped a couple of laps ago. He must have been throwing out a boat anchor to try and get it hauled in. Matt Manderson right on the tail of the Red Alpha of Dickie Meaden for third. Will Bill Shepherd be able to get it stopped? Will Grant Williams go by him out of the chicane in a drag race to the line? The Thunderbird should win the drag race, but can he get the car slowed in time? I think Grant Williams will be ready this time to cut up the inside when Bill Shepherd has to get on the brakes about a mile before the corner.
Yeah, but of course the first move had to cover Lavins, and unfortunately a slight understeering moment there for Grant Williams going through St Mary's, where he would haul 2, 3, 4 car lengths from the race-leading Thunderbird. Didn't get in front before Lavin, didn't get alongside, doesn't have the acceleration down the straight, but the way the braking is falling away on that Thunderbird, as you said, he's probably starting to brake about now, still with most of the lap straight to go.
Exactly right, and if he doesn't get on the brakes early enough, he is going to take the entire chicane with him as he just goes straight through. There is a back marker in the way.
In a big car, a Jaguar
number
Mark
22
7.
Mark 7 Jag. Oh, Bill Shepherd has got to be very, very cautious here, but he has got enough. He will win the drag race to the line from Grant Williams, or will he? Can he get around the Jag? Yes, he does. The checkered flag is out. It is going to be victory on the road for Bill Shepherd, as it was for his co-driver Romain Dumas. Grant Williams second, Dickie Meaden third ahead of Matt Manderson. Looks like Richard Butterfield will finish in 5th position.
But they couldn't get to start, the battery was flat, so it's great to see it whistling round now. Graham Hill was one of the drivers. It was its own special class, but I think it actually overall finished 9th or 11th.
Well, the big problem was actually at one point in the race, I think it was Graham got a little bit into the sand, off the side of the circuit. Sand got into the engine. It did finish, but it was certainly curtailed. But again, sports car racing, even at a greater rate than Formula One racing in its various periods, kept on moving on. And so the great-looking Rover turbine car, that's one of the later ones. It's got those very large air scoops to get
it has
feed to the back.
And underneath that pretty body is a widened, a broadened Formula One BRM chassis. You'd hardly hear it whistling round.
In a funny way, it still looks futuristic now, and
Yeah.
certainly at the time it did seem almost space age, but at those days people were trying things that were very, very different. The rulebook was far more open. Certainly you look at where we are now with the World Endurance Championship, it has a closed book in terms of development.
It lives in the British Motor Museum at Gaydon in Warwickshire. You can always go and have a close look at it. We at one time thought it would never run again because the heat exchanger was very difficult to repair or replace, but they managed it, as you can see.
Now, for a very, very long time, of course, in the days before we had the liveries, as you'd get with the sponsorship of Yardley and Marlborough for BRM and later Rotary Watches, the works cars ran in that fantastic deep dark green metallic with the bright orange noseband. It really helped pick them out, and particularly with other cars racing in the national colours. So you've had a whole gaggle of cars. It could be Lotus BRMs, it could be BRMs, but the BRM, the work cars, are the ones with that orange nose, and I think they stand out on even the dullest of days.
What's that little Cooper, red Cooper with white stripes doing? Well, it's a Cooper BRM Formula 2 car run by Joe Bonnier Racing for Joe Siffert to race in F2 in 1966.
Yes, and I mean, this is a point that gets lost in the mist of time, is the fact that the F2 and F1 cars were so similar. And don't forget, though, 1952 to 1953, the World Championship was run to Formula 2 rules because they couldn't get enough cars to run to Formula 1 regs, so it has chopped and changed. But anything, in my eye, where you've got a works team like Lotus, who are galloping forwards in terms of technology, using one of your engines, means you've got your engine in with the best.
First lap from David Hart in the lead, as Carsten LeBlanc here looking at making a move. He doesn't have the power in that 100S, only a 4-cylinder engine compared to most of the cars around him having 6 cylinders, but what he lacks in power, he makes up for in performance.
And
Chris.
lightweight.
Yes, he's down the inside. Can he hold it? No, just outbraked slightly by the C-type as they turn their way through St Mary's.
It's an Austin Healey C-type sandwich, isn't it?
Through the chicane for the second time. I'm looking at my timing screens. Fastest lap that second lap was Gregor Fiskin in third place in the HWM with a 1:31.4. Carson LeBlanc again, looking at seeing if he can get alongside the C-Type.
And he can.
might do it here. He's not got the line, but he can carry more speed through the right-hand kink here, and I think he's done it. Yes, he has. Fantastic driving there from Carson LeBlanc, who moves up into 6th place now, ahead of the C-Type. As we see on screen, Carson LeBlanc making his way down the Lavant straight, holding off the C-Types in a straight line as he turns into Woodcote.
David Hart about to cross the line at the end